Previously on Austin After Midnight.
I'm gonna look around, kind of get a feel for the scene as I make my way to the bar and sit down next.
Alright, so you sit down next to Vigo. Vigo is a fellow Deva who is rather attractive. He does have a very chiseled jaw that is highlighted by a thin beard and longish hair. It's about shoulder length. He's wearing a red and black suit with a tie.
Hi, boys.
Ah, Nikki, says Vigo. What are you doing here? What's going on?
Not much. Checking in. Wanted to make sure you didn't need me before I was taking care of other business.
To let you know that I want you to do some digging. I need you to investigate what Dr. Kozlov is doing about the thing, if you know what I mean. The the blood frenzy thing.
How detailed do you want me to go? Do you want me to dig to the bottom or just stir up some mud?
Start with the mud. If you find something worth digging deeper, dig as deep as you can. We're going for information in case we need to intercede in the doctor's plans.
Sounds like a typical day.
It has been several nights since we left our kindred characters. Tonight, they come to court, a bi-monthly meeting where kindred discuss business and ongoings within their requiems. It is held at the Carthian nightclub Fierce.
Everyone is in attendance underneath the Fierce nightclub on 4th Street in Austin, Texas. There are roughly 200 kindred in this room. It is a basically giant warehouse basement. There are carafes of blood wine distributed everywhere on every table, and there are tables enough to where if one kindred wanted to sit by himself, he's certainly allowed. There are sections for both clan and covenant to where you may choose who you sit with. You can even choose to sit by yourself if you wish. Court hasn't officially been called. It is now more or less the time for socializing with anyone that you want to talk to. You have a couple of minutes to kind of establish where you want to sit, and then we will get started with court. Who wants to go first? I will leave it to you three to decide. Just Whoever chimes up first gets to go first.
I am going to try and get a feel for the room, try to figure out, what's the dynamic here as far as I pretty much everywhere I know Gangrel has almost no these days as far as like there's never a large gathering of us in any one spot for any one long period of time. So I never am going to expect there to be a ton of us, but I'm going to try to get a feel for what the overall dynamic is as far as, what groups are where and how many and how large in number and, how many people are just here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I can go ahead and tell you right now that there are more Deva and Ventru per capita than there are any other. And there are currently present, in order of populace, and they kind of make themselves more known because either by dress, like they will wear the colors of their covenant, or like a pin with their covenant symbol on it. There are more Carthians, there are more Carthians present, followed by dragons, followed by Invictus, followed by Lance. As far as you can see, there are no crone sitting at the crone area. They may be there. They're just not necessarily in that specific area.
Okay. As far as groups or pockets, maybe outliers as far as clans are concerned, do I see any small pockets of, Gangcrow or Nosferatu or anything like that might be an interesting place for a conversation?
You don't see many pockets of those. It's almost as if Gangrel and Nosferatus are not really present at this one. They don't seem to be in high number. There are two Nosferatu at the Nosferatu section, just kind of sitting there talking to each other. One of them is a Lance, and the other one looks to be an Invictus, but you can't quite make out his clothing or his regalia. There is one Gangrel sitting at the Gangrel only section, and she looks really grumpy right now.
Oh, good. I can go be grumpy with somebody else.
So you approach her, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. She looks at you and she goes, and you can kind of see her do this a little bit, like she's sniffing you. And she says, okay, good. You're not a faker. Sit down.
Oh. He'll chuckle a little bit and sit down.
So she goes, all right, cool. I'm glad to know I'm not the only crazy one here.
There doesn't seem to be very many of us here, are there?
No, there are even fewer of me here.
Of you here?
Yes.
He'll cock his head inquisitively. Now, what did you mean by that, child?
She kind of pulls back a little bit of her like basically lapel on her jacket and reveals a patch with a snake leading up to a crescent moon, and you recognize that to be the main symbol of the Circle of the Crone.
Ah, I see. Interesting.
Yeah,
Well, I find
I drew the short straw. I hate these things.
well, you drew the short straw when you became Gangrel. Anyways, seem to be very many for such a diverse town. There seems to be so few of our kin here.
Yeah, they don't. They, and she kind of points toward the Carthian and Invictus area specifically. They don't really like the the uglies and the more primitive, I guess. A bit too caught up in their prettiness, like it's something to admire or something.
Well, you can't exactly blame them, can you? It's not like they truly understand what it is to be part of to truly comprehend their duality.
Yeah. Too bad we know it all too well. As do our, well, more hideous companions.
Oh, they're beautiful in their own way.
Yeah, about that. I just don't know what to make of them sometimes. Do you mind me asking a little personal question?
You can ask, I won't promise I'll answer.
Who the hell are you?
Well, it's usually courtesy to give your name first.
Alright. My name is Vera of Hecate's Blade.
I'm not really sure my character would know or care what that is. I'm
Probably
sure you might
not.
know what it is. Yeah.
You might recognize the name Hecate, but beyond that, you don't care one iota. You know that that's probably like her coterie or something like that within the crone.
I go by Bren, but these days I did jump around a lot, but currently I'm the order.
You're in the you're a dragon.
Am a dragon is that's a strong way to put it. I would say that there's more of a unique understanding. They allow me to live with less restrictions and less questions, and in return, I do them favors.
Okay. I understand that life. That's basically the life of us in the circle. Cool. Well, I will pour a glass of blood wine for myself. Do you want one?
Ah, no, no, no. I am still adjusting.
Oh, okay. I just woke up, did we?
Well, it's a little rough these days with all of the advancements. I'm used to a much slower pace of life. All these days, it seems like you could eat someone on the middle of Rome, and somebody in the middle of Russia would know in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what that's like. I myself have slept once before, so I know what waking up in a new world is like. Yeah. So she takes a glass and says, "Here's to new beginnings," and she just drains it. And then she stands up and she goes, "All right. I hope you don't mind that I leave you, but I do have some business to attend to. I need to talk to the prince before this bullshit starts."
Here's to hoping that we meet again.
And she excuses herself. All right, so that's where we're going to pause you. Phil and or Kelsey, who wants to go next?
I can go.
All right. So you come into the meeting. What do you want to do?
How many Invictus are there?
Easily like 100.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like I said, there are almost 200 kindred here, and they're probably on the like closer side to 95, whereas the other ones are like there are 100 Carthians, like possibly like 101 or 102.
Is there anyone like my rank or higher in the Invictus there that I would notice?
Oh wait, no, it's the other way around. Sorry, it's the other way around. It's the Carthians and then the dragons. That's right. So 25 Invictus. Let's make it that way. That way it's kind of fair between them and the Lance. But there, and you do recognize everyone on your council, on your privy council. They are here, and they are all at their own table.
All right. Well, I'm going to go up to that table then.
You kind of go up to them, and they kind of look at you and kind of, they don't really make any motions because you guys are equals. They're not really going to acknowledge that you're lesser or higher than they are. They just kind of witness your presence.
And there's like an open seat, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then you have the last open seat.
All right. I'm just going to sit down.
Okay. The one across from you is a Nosferatu who looks at you and he says, "So, yeah, how's the Google thing going?"
Oh, it's going well, I suppose. Which Google thing are you referring to exactly?
All of it. I don't understand what it is. I don't even have a computer. I just know that it's making us money.
Ah, well. If it's the money you're worried about, we're making lots of that.
Well, as long as it keeps flowing into the domain and into our pockets, keep it up. Whatever it is you're doing, I don't care what it is. Keep it up. Yeah. The other 7, because there are 8 of you, the other 7, or 6 really, because you're talking to them, they all kind of, you can feel them nodding in agreement. You also know that you and he are the only kind of odd men in this group, in that you're a Maquette, he's a Nos. The other ones are, you'll note this very prominently, all Ventru.
I'm going to ask the Nosferatu, how about you? How's things going on your end?
Oh, mine's going fine. Well, I mean, I say it's going fine. I'm making money as well. I'm not making your kind of money, but I'm making enough to make it happen. The mortals haven't quite wisened up to what I'm doing yet, which is good, because once they find the new thing that is going to be on the streets, well, yeah, that's going to be fun for them.
Would I know what he's talking about?
Probably not. You know that he has been known to be kind of a drug pusher.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where he gets his money from, and that's one of the only reasons why he is even allowed on the council, is because he makes big profits off of selling drugs on the black market.
What's this new thing you're pushing?
Oh, it's a new thing that doesn't really have too many immediate lasting side effects, but after a while you can't get enough of it, and it doesn't cause an overdose. Sound a little familiar?
Does it sound familiar?
It does to some extent. You know that he is a guy that really enjoys multiplying and genetically modifying specific strands and strains of marijuana. He says, "Yeah, I'm even trying to see if the legislature here will push it finally, and we'll get to legalize it and then I really get a monopoly on this business.
Well, keep it up.
Well, would you like for me to send you some samples for your herd to try? Oh, wait, you don't have a herd yet. I forgot. Poor me. Actually, no, not poor me. Poor you.
Well, I'm working on that. No need to be so rude.
My dear boy, you are the only one on here, on this council, that does not have a herd. You have a reasonable haven. You could have all of the herd you want. And it doesn't even matter what they are. You could have them. Please, I can even share some of mine with you, for crying out loud. I'm sure they'd rather have something that wouldn't give them nightmares every time he shows up.
Well, if you'll send some my way, I'd definitely appreciate that.
Very well. Expect them, let's say, within the next 72 hours. They won't be all cracked out or anything like that. They'll be some of my better ones. Don't worry.
Sounds good.
Alright, we're going to pause your scene there. Kelsey,
Yes.
you arrive not long after Phil does. You notice that there are multiple Ordos here. You do see all 5 of your oversight committee here. And Vigo seems to be probably the most well-dressed out of all of them, which isn't that uncommon because he is a Deva, and that's kind of expected. So, what do you do?
I'm gonna go check in with him just to make sure he doesn't need anything, / to see if I can eavesdrop.
On your approach, you kind of move in, and you begin to kind of feel like someone's watching you the closer you get to their table.
When I look around, can I kind of pinpoint it? Like an area that it's coming?
Give me a perception roll.
12.
12. You don't really see anything like out of the ordinary. You just kind of get this feeling of being watched, which for Kindred is kind of unnerving to some extent. Because, usually you're the ones that are doing the hunting and kind of things like that.
Okay, so I definitely feel unnerved, but I keep walking towards the table because I have a goal.
Alright. So, within about 3 feet of the table, you suddenly feel a hand on your shoulder and something pointy poke you in the back. Like right in the back where your heart is. And you hear a, "What's your business with the overview?"
My business is for me to know and for you to get your pointy thing out of my back.
A feisty one, huh? Alright. And then you hear, from the table, you hear, "Vlad, stop! Leave that poor girl alone. She works for Vigo." And you note that was Miss Erickson who is talking. And you know that she is kind of like the unofficial head of the oversight committee, but she's also the head of discipline within the order here in Austin. So she kind of has bodyguards.
Bodyguards that I currently want to snap in half.
Yeah. And you watch him kind of, you see him and he walks away and then suddenly just disappears.
That explains the unnerving feeling.
It's safe to assume he was a Maquette because he didn't act like a Nosferatu.
Okay. I walk up to the table, but now I'm much more annoyed than I was when I originally got here.
So the Vigo says, "All right, this is a little bit out of the ordinary, but what's going on?"
There were whispers that our lovely doctor is presenting and not possibly presenting the whole facts. Have you heard that?
The Oversight Committee has talked with him. We don't know what he's bringing here, but we have spoken with him and we have asked him to be as factual as possible, but we don't know what that will mean to him. So just be on the lookout, and whenever it comes question time, if you have any questions, do your job well.
Will do.
Because guess what? Welcome to your speaking for the Oro Dracul in the questioning.
Oh, great. Thanks for the heads up on that.
I have faith in you. I hired you for this job. You can do it.
I will do my best. Okay, in that case, I need a drink.
There's plenty of it. Do you want pulse or not?
Not a
'Cause
drink.
we have humans available upstairs. I can run and grab you one if you need that.
Blood wine will be fine.
All right. So about 5 minutes after you've had your discussion with Vigo, a trumpet sounds, and out walks the entire court of Austin. They all take their seat. You see representatives from practically every covenant and clan within the court of Austin. At their head, you see a somewhat petite Asian woman who all of you know to be Prince Mary Trin. Behind her is the Seneschal, who is an Invictus. His name is Dominic. Behind him is the Sheriff. She is a rather robust, built. She is Ordo. And she happens to be, well, let's just say she looks like a big cat. Almost like a lioness to some extent. It's safe to say that she's a gangrel. Then behind her, you have two more. One of them is a Ventru, who is a member of the Circle of the Crone. Nobody really knows what he does. And then behind him is a veiled figure who is wearing a rather large cross on his chest. And it's safe to assume that that is the bishop of the lance there. So Mary walks up to you and says, "My fellow Austinites, welcome to our May court. There are a couple of things that we need to get done tonight, but first, is there anyone that wishes to announce their presence in the domain of Austin? Anyone?"
Yeah, I guess I will stand up.
The prince, or actually the Seneschal, points a rod at you, and the prince turns and looks at you. "Yes, you may speak."
I am new to town. I go by Bren, and I'm with the Order currently.
"Very well. And your clan?"
Gangrel.
"Very well. Another gangrel." The prince welcomes you to Austin.
He'll bow a little bit, and then I assume sit back down.
That's fine. She then says, "All right, on to why we're all really here. We don't really have much to announce for any of the Carthian news. We do have several blood drives that are being planned at the universities here in town. Anyone that wishes to receive from that, please contact Dominic, and he will make those resources available to you whenever they are available. We are trying to avoid feeding from any unknown or unvetted sources like local blood banks, because currently all of the blood banks are seemingly where the tainted blood comes from, according to Dr. Kozlov. Out of character, Kelsey, that was not announced in any of the news that you saw.
Okay.
Then she says, and now, with my mentioning of Dr. Kozlov, I give him the floor to speak and give us an update. So Dr. Kozlov approaches wearing his lab coat and carrying or wheeling in a vampire, like on a stretcher. And this vampire is currently like frothing at the mouth. And everybody's kind of like, what's going on? What's happening here? You know. And Kozlov walks up to him and proceeds to draw out a small syringe from his coat pocket. And he slides the syringe into the vampire's heart. And he injects whatever was in that syringe into the vampire's chest. The vampire then stops frothing, kind of flinches and twitches a little bit, and then goes limp. The prince responds, "What was that? Is that vampire now torpid, asleep? What is happening?" Kozlov then he then turns and looks at her and he says, "No, none of the above. They are currently mesmerized. I have seemingly found a way to make them docile using this formula that I have created using various types of blood. I will not divulge where this blood comes from, but just know that these kindred can be rendered docile. Unfortunately, in the process, I must admit that 2 kindred passed into the eternal sleep. I regret that they are gone, but they died in the name of science. Furthermore, I will make this available to every kindred that wishes it to be made available to them. I would prefer to go through the covenants, but if you are uncomfortable with that, please let it be known. Now, what I would like to do is explore what exactly this blood plague, as we have now begun to call it, is. As we all know, the mortals are going through a health crisis. They are going through a pandemic. Again, it's kind of what they do. It seems that in the process of them making medications for this, they made certain blood types more caustic for us to ingest. I do not know how this was achieved, because I have not managed to get my hands on any of these new drugs that they are using. I have done my best to order them, but whenever I get them, they seem to be tainted. So someone or something is interfering with our goals. Now, that is all that I have to share for the moment. I open the floor up for questions.
Why didn't they turn to ash? The kindred who passed, why didn't they turn to ash?
Ah, yes, because those were neonates that passed. As we all know, it has to be a certain blood potency or a certain age for a kindred to turn to ash. It may have been that they did not have a high enough blood potency to withstand the drug. That may have been a failing and oversight on my end and on my staff's end. But you must understand that this only affects kindred with a relatively moderate blood potency. Any more questions?
Do you have any theories about why you keep getting tainted medicine?
At the moment, no. That is a very interesting conundrum that we are facing. I am going to be requesting from the prince that we have some type of investigation started for that, along with the task force that is in place to investigate the blood plague itself. Unfortunately, the task force has not really found much because, well, let's be honest, they weren't really doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were more just crashing all of the blood banks and everything that everywhere we got it, everywhere we got the blood, and just taking willy-nilly. They didn't really do a thorough investigation. As he says this, if you're watching the prince and the sheriff, they kind of wince and look kind of shocked. Like he just, stabbed them with something.
What makes you think they weren't investigating it?
Because whenever they brought me the blood, multiple of the packets were empty. It makes me think they were either empty or they didn't match the manifest, which makes me think that they were on the take. Now, I do not mean to insinuate that the Carthian Heavy Task Force was, taking from the rest of us or potentially even ingesting tainted blood, but that is what it looks like.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
No. I mean, I have a question out of character.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I've been around for a little while now. Have I ever heard of any kind of symptoms like this at all, ever?
You have.
Anything? Okay. What does my character remember about that? Anything at all?
To some extent, you remember that, how to phrase this in an ST way that only Trey will understand. That is one of the first means of quote-unquote brainwashing from a certain organization that you and I both know about and talk about.
I see. Okay. So my character is definitely perked up. This appears to be... I'm going to have my character... I mean, it's not like obviously I can smell everybody here. I'm going to have my character remember the scent of the doctor.
Okay. That's easy to do. He smells like a maquette. And, lab stuff.
Right. I'm just because I'm probably going to be trying to track him down later. I'm going to need that.
Any questions from Phil and or Kelsey to Dr. Kozlov?
No. Nikki's good.
I'm going to take Phil's silence as being also good with that. The prince then, kind of gives him a side eye to kind of say he's done, he's excused, and he wheels the kindred that he had on the stretcher or on the table out of the room and leaves. And now then the kindred says, or the prince says, that is a good idea, what he just said. Do we have any interested parties that would like to investigate?
Me?
Phil, are you back? I didn't hear if you said anything.
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
I'm gonna raise my hand and say, well, you probably need someone with a bit of tech savvy on this investigation.
The prince's face literally, because it came from the Invictus Council table, she's like, what the hell just happened? Any other volunteers?
Alright, well, I guess I will also volunteer, as it seems like it's the only way I'm going to get close to anything that I want to get close to, so.
And then you also hear, or you see the bishop kind of walk over and whisper something into the prince's ear, and then she goes, very well, we have at least for a task force, and
Question?
they seem to be well diverse. I'm okay with this. Question? Yes. Where? Who?
Yes. Me. I would like to see if I can attempt to hear what he was whispering.
Give me a perception roll.
12.
12. All right. So 2 successes. You can vaguely understand the word din, or the letter, or like it sounds like din that you kind of hear.
And who was whispering this?
The bishop whispering into the prince's ear.
Okay.
So I heard the word den, but I didn't hear anything else.
Correct.
Can I try and hear it?
Sure.
16.
Yep, you got the 3 successes. What he said was, "You have my paladin."
Okay.
You might not know what that means. I mean, it's whatever.
Can I? Is there anything I can roll to see if I know what that means?
Then give me an intelligence and I almost had intelligence athletics. No, intelligence academics.
10.
Okay, that is enough for 1 success. You probably recognize that to be something to do with the lance, but you don't know what it means. She says, "This is all that we have to announce for the domain purposes. Thank you for coming. We got a lot of stuff known and everything. Please would our new task force stay behind, and everyone else is adjourned. Go live out your requiem in peace." And everybody kind of gets up and ambles out or flies out if they're, able to do so. But they just kind of, and by flying I mean celerity, like they literally just zip out of there. Because it's kind of a weird thing and it's kind of a known thing that most vampires don't like court, because that's where they can be revealed, and some of them are very uncomfortable with that. So anyway, so you 4 are left, and you notice that there is one sitting at the lance table that stands up and walks over to be with you 4. He is a well-dressed man. He's wearing a suit. He has a red shirt on underneath a black jacket, and is wearing black slacks. And you notice that there's something kind of maybe protruding from his jacket, but you can't quite make out what it is. It's probably a weapon of some kind. He kind of walks over to you and bows to you, and then he looks up, especially at the bishop, and just kind of stands at attention to the bishop, but no one else. The prince then turns to you and she says, "Well, you will all report to Dr. Kozlov, who will report to me before he reports to anyone else. And I do mean," and she looks at specifically at Nikki, "and I do mean anyone else. Are we clear?"
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, go ahead and go talk to Dr. Kozlov. We will adjourn. And then she looks at the lance that's standing there. She says, "I believe that His Eminence would like to have a word with you." And he kind of bows to her, or nods to her, and then he walks up to the bishop and they start talking. And you guys can go speak to Kozlov if you want. He'll be there to join you shortly. Kozlov kind of shuffles away into the room where the patient is, and he does say, "Okay."
I'm gonna go up to the door.
Oh no, the door's already open.
The patient is completely out cold, right? Like not
Yes.
making any noises or anything.
Correct.
Okay. But when he came in initially, he was frothing at the mouth. Symptoms were all over the
Full-on blood
place.
frenzy. Full-on blood frenzy.
Okay. All right. Well, I have so many questions, and none of them I'm going to get answers from because now, yep, happy days. Well, when I was walking around eavesdropping on people, can I make a roll to see if I heard anybody talk about anybody talking about things like I don't know, either like just things that seemed out of place, about owls or something like that.
Okay. Sure, make a roll for it. That would be a, I'll make that an intelligence composure.
Intelligence composure. Oh no. What's
Because
that?
you're remembering. This is in hindsight. You're remembering things, not doing it at the present.
Could I make an argument to add my investigation to it?
Sure, yeah, totally add your investigation to it.
Alright, dope. Ooh, 19.
Did you roll a 10 or something?
No, I rolled a 9. I have a 4 in investigation.
Nice. No, there was no mention of owls or anything like that mentioned at all.
Okay.
There was talk of the blood plague. A couple of people knew people that had been contaminated. But that's about it. No one really knew who, they don't know whether or not the people that they knew were the ones that died now because it wasn't announced publicly. So that was more like, oh dear, this is more serious than we thought whenever it was initially announced.
Okay, that's fair. Are we all waiting outside, or are we allowed in the room? That wasn't really
he told you
made
to come
very
in.
clear.
He told you to come
Yeah,
in.
all right. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go.
I'm following.
And I'm gonna start asking questions like, when exactly did we first start seeing victims? What area of town did it really start at, or was it kind of sporadic? Specifically, was there anything about it that was strange?
He says, well, those were all questions that were initially answered, but I'll answer them for you again. They were, well, and I understand, and the reason I'm doing this is because I understand that you're new to town and all this other stuff. They were all sporadic. They really only seemed to affect mostly Ventrus, which was very odd to me. Well, I say that mostly. They affected them the strongest. And that they seem to really come from one specific blood bank at first, and then it spread. It's almost as if once the sickness was being caused, it spread immediately after that to the other blood banks in town. There are only 6, and all of them have seemingly had contaminated blood. As far as
what was the one where we had our first case?
That one is the one that's in South Austin, not too far from the neutral area.
How does the symptoms progress? Did we discuss that, or was it?
Oh no, it's just once they've ingested this blood, they immediately go into blood frenzy almost immediately. Whenever I was doing experiments on ones that had been infected already, it was simultaneous. Like as soon as they took the first drink of blood, immediately blood frenzy.
I don't even know how to process that.
I'm sure I'm going to have more questions, but I don't have any now. Where can I find you? Would be the best way to contact you.
Well, I am in the fortress. That's where I spend pretty much every night and day. I don't sleep all
Behind
that
closed
much.
doors.
Do what?
Behind closed doors.
Well, yes. We dragons do our best work behind closed doors, don't we?
Or when faced with one.
Yes. And I hope that your skills will be put to the maximum test. Here, Miss Garcia, is it? I only know of you from, acquaintances. namely Miss Erickson.
That's correct.
Yes. If you, now then that you are officially on this task force, you may come speak to me whenever you need to. My assistant will be notified that you now have access to me, even when I would normally be unavailable to anyone, including the Oversight Committee.
Speaking of access, what would be the best way to get access to that blood bank?
Well, all of the blood banks have been closed. We have seen to it, and they have been emptied. And all of the blood that we have used has been since destroyed.
Well, that's fine. But this is, let's just say I believe I remember something similar happening before, and I'd like to take a closer look at the place where it first started.
Something happening before? I have never heard of this, and I have been around for about 300 years. I woke up about 100 years ago, and I have never heard in all of my time on this planet of anything like this happening before. And I study blood specifically.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. But I've had naps older than you.
Oh, you are an elder? Interesting. And you're a dragon? Even more interesting. I would like to, if you're willing, I would like to pick your brain as much as you have picked mine. Maybe we can make sense of this together.
Well, let's hope.
What of the rest of you? Now, I am willing to open up the blood bank that you may investigate what's going on there. But what of the other two of you? Three, and you see the lance person show up at the door, and he kind of walks in and announces himself. I am Sir Victor Durant. I serve as the bishop's paladin. I am his right hand, and I am his spear. As you kind of hear something rattle on his back. We would like to find out as much as we can, as quickly as we can, because we cannot have more dead kindred. This is not allowed. This is taboo. It must end. What do the three of you have to offer this little cadre?
Well, currently, we're the only three offering anything to the cadre.
That is true. So we have a Gangrel, we have a Maquette, we have a Deva, and I am a Ventru. We could work well together, I think. I hope. So, what do you have proposed as a plan? Or have you a plan yet?
Well, I'm not sure for our companions, but I know I would like to go and look at the initial blood bank where this seems to have sprouted from.
I would as
Because
well.
things don't exactly just, spread this fast to this many places this quick. This seems, at least to me, as if it was intentional.
It may be, and that is why we are investigating. I should also warn you that whenever we find someone, if we do find anyone that is guilty, I am under authority of the prince to, if necessary, use lethal force. I am also offering that to you.
Oh, good. We should make quick work of this then.
However, it would be prudent to interrogate them first. In such a case, we would take them to Sheriff Reagan first, and if she cannot get through to them, then we go to the bishop. Unless you think you are better than either of them at interrogation, although I highly doubt it.
I don't think I would be, but what if the time calls for a little impromptu interrogation?
Impromptu interrogation can be done. We can make that happen. I have Theban sorcery at my abilities, at my whim. I can, hopefully, theoretically, withdraw information out myself as much as possible. Again, if we are not successful, and we do not end up killing whoever is responsible first, we will then follow suit and bring them to the sheriff and the bishop.
That seems fair.
So, we are to head to neutral territory, eh? Right? Because that is where the first blood bank was discovered.
Correct.
Do we wish to do this now? It is the witching hour. That would be a bad idea.
I recommend that we wait until tomorrow.
Agreed. Let's say that we meet at the Lion's Den, because it is the closest of the sanctuaries to the blood bank, at, what say you to 11 o'clock tomorrow night?
Sounds good.
The other two?
Sounds good to me.
I guess we are all in agreement then.
Tomorrow at 11. Bring something painful. Whatever it is that you want to bring that is painful, that inflicts pain. But also, wear something inconspicuous. I shouldn't have to explain that to the likes of any of you, but just to be sure that we understand what we're doing. We are technically going to be breaking and entering into a mortal facility. We will need to be on our guard in case the mortal authorities want to get feisty.
Does this place have cameras?
Yes, it does, and it has an alarm system.
Well, I might be of use in disabling said alarm system.
Oh, yes.
My character's gonna lean over to the I'm trying to make sure I've got everybody's characters' names down. I'm pretty sure I don't. Where did I write them? I don't have them anywhere. Sorry. I had it written down, and now I've lost all of my notes. I'm doing just batting 1,000 tonight. I'm going to lean over to Kelsey's.
Isn't it?
No, it's not the red breast. I'm just... I'm 1,000 things and computer issues. It's fun night.
Okay.
I'm going to lean over to Kelsey's character and goes, what's a security camera?
It's they stick it up on the walls and it watches us and it records it so they can watch it later if they need to.
So you're telling me mortals take those big, giant wooden boxes, climb up in the corners, and stand there all night till somebody walks by, and they try to take a picture?
They're smaller now, and they run on electricity, so we don't have to stand with them anymore. They run on their own.
That just sounds so complicated. You know, back in my day, you just hired somebody to stand in the corner, and then you stabbed somebody when they walked in. What's so hard about that? I don't understand.
They didn't like people killing people all the time, especially when they were supposed to be there and then they got stabbed anyway.
Well, you know what? Maybe we wouldn't have these issues if we did. Next, you're gonna tell me we put warning labels on all of our stuff.
About that. We do.
Oh no.
Dr. Kozlov, hearing this, says, "Yes, and it appears like I'm going to have to put warning labels on blood packs now."
Including blood packets now.
But Victor looks over at Dave and says, "Oh yes, that's right. I forgot. We have a Google mogul here. So you're coming out of your high tower to help us out, huh? Help out us little people. Good on
The
you,
hell's
I
a-
guess."
What the fuck is a Google?
I'll catch you up later. We'll talk about it. Just later.
I'm
I
so
never said anything about coming out of my tower. In fact, I think I might be of more use to you from my tower.
Is a tower another euphemism? I don't understand.
No, he literally lives at the top of a tower.
And yes, for future reference, guys, Phil's, or Dave rather, Dave's like haven is just behind the giant G in the Google building there in town.
So now every time I drive past that stupid building, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, Dave lives there."
Yeah, basically.
Why is your character hiding out like a Nosferatu, man? What the hell?
What? You don't want to get your hands dirty with us? Come on.
Why are you hiding out like a Nosferatu, man? That's just creepy.
So, would I be able to get like some sort of communication device?
Yeah, there are such things as, like, walkie-talkies. There's, combi beads or whatever the freaking.
Yeah, I'm thinking like an earpiece I could put in their ears and like guide them.
Yeah.
Okay. So can for the sake of this, can we say I already have some?
I mean, sure, you're gonna probably deafen poor Bran whenever he first uses it.
Probably just not. He'll probably think it's some kind of like. You know what? No, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna use it. It's gonna be hilarious.
All right. So
All right,
that's
I'm gonna hand them out.
Okay, so you hand out comm beads, and Victor's kind of like, all right, I'm used to this. In fact, I already have one. Here's my signal, and he tells you.
Is anybody working over at everybody hears a loud crunching noise?
He put it in his mouth. Great.
That's awful.
You're not supposed to eat that.
What it looks like a beat? What?
It goes in your ear.
Why would I put a bean in my ear?
It's to communicate.
Fucking being told to carry these small fucking mirrors around, telling me that cameras don't need people anymore. Now I've got Googles, and now we put beans in our ears. I just don't think I'm ready for this world.
We'll get you there.
I don't like this.
It's gonna be okay.
It's not gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna go fine. I'm gonna go like Akko Taco hugs. It's gonna be okay.
That's funny. Victor's like, okay, well, I've given you my signal. If you're gonna be in your tower, we're gonna need to have you pretty much, I guess, hack the joint for us to be in the clear. We don't really show up on cameras all that much, but just so we are clear, if that's what you're gonna do, you're going to need to be Johnny on the spot. I hope you know what I mean by that. In case we run into other security things, you know, because I don't know what we're going to run into down there. Like he said, the guys that did this thing, they weren't thorough. I know every single one of them. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to show up at the den. We're going to go there together. We can choose whether or not we travel together, or if, you know, Bran over here is too comfortable to get into a car. I don't know. Or too uncomfortable to get into a car. I don't know. He probably doesn't even know what in the hell a car is, which is very sad. But anyway.
Are you talking about those weird horseless buggies?
That's not...
Yes, I am talking about those weird horseless buggies.
Son of a bitch, clipped me on my way. Fucking wing didn't act up right for like a half a mile. It's not funny, this shit hurts.
I know, I've been hit by a few of them. It's even worse whenever you're driving them and you get hit by them.
I bounced off the first one and hit a second one. Going the other way.
Oh dear.
Well, welcome to Austin. We love the traffic here, right?
And no one likes to drive properly. They just will run everything over.
That's half the fun. So I'll meet you guys here with my car, or meet you guys at the den with my car. There's room enough for all of us, even if Mr. Mogul over here wants to come out of his tower. You know, I know for a fact that they have things called laptops now, because I own like 7 of them.
Getting some shade for not leaving the car.
But anyway, you can do it however you want to do it. We can all work together on this. We can all work individually on this. As long as we get this job done, and done quickly and right, we'll be in the clear. And who knows, we might even get some status out of this.
Why is a grown man playing tops in his lap?
Victor looks at Nikki and he says, "You're all over this one, not me. If I do it, I'm probably gonna piss him off."
I can't promise that I won't.
I'm gonna say. So when he brings up the laptop idea, I'm gonna say, "Well, is there any place nearby I could lay low and, you know, use my laptop to hack in, like a coffee shop or something?"
There's literally nothing for 2 miles from this thing. You could sit outside and use a hotspot for all it matters.
Why does he sound like a druggie? Is he addicted to them Googles? I don't understand.
I promise I'll catch you up on the tops and the laps and the Googles and the beans in the ears, okay? I'll get you there.
Okay.
Those all sound incredibly risque
Okay.
in that context.
I know.
And it's wonderful.
Okay.
No, it's gonna be okay. I'll go taco hug. It's okay.
This is why my friends are birds.
Okay, well, that's where we're going to end this episode.
I think some of this is sleep delirium.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
No,
Especially for you, Kelsey. Yeah. So in this case, then, yeah, I'll give you guys 2 beats. And we'll call it a night, and I hope you guys had fun. I know I did. And welcome to Vampire.